Another 30 minutes with me and then I'm done. And that is 30 minutes about GDPR. Usually this lasts for about 2 hours, so I'll try to be quick. But it's a big topic actually, with lots of things to do, requirements, law, internal control systems, privacy rights. It's like going back to school actually. And you won't really understand this unless you look at it that way, going back to school. You just have to learn this. What is it? What does it mean? You have to read the law. How many of you have read it? Yeah, some, I would say. It is actually readable. So I thought, to make it simple for me, I'll just go through this text for 30 minutes and stop, because it's so interesting. But actually, you can read it. It's no big deal. It's about the first 20 pages explains in a very normal language what this is about. And if you do that, you will be what I call, in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed is a king. And you will have one eye if you read these 20 pages. And you're far ahead of all your colleagues and most of your customers. And that's not bad, is it? Being a consultant, salespeople, whatever. So it's understandable. This is the most readable law legislation that came out of EU ever. That's not something I invented. It is actually the truth. There's one problem with it, though, and it's you have to interpret it. Each company had to read it, understand it, together with the lawyer, and then make up his own mind what it does mean to his company, to our company, to your company. And that's a job. And you have to do the documentation. It's not like the law that says you can't walk on red light in the traffic. Either you walk or don't walk. There's nothing to interpret. But the GDPR is not like that. You can save personal information if you have the right purpose and if you store it according to the documentation and the purpose and then delete it. But it depends on what kind of business you're running. So if you're running a B2C company, it's stricter to keep personal information about a person in a bank or insurance company. If he quits, then you have to leave it pretty cool. A travel agency cannot keep the information very long. But B2B, 3 years according to a contract, no problem. But you have to interpret, you have to build a quality system to manage this. That's the big job for us, each of you that belong to a company, and for all our customers. That's what it's all about. Boring. But actually we see it like this. Seeing from a CRM perspective, this is really something to look forward to. And if you wonder what kind of pills I took this morning, yeah. Maybe I took the wrong pills. I'll try to explain why. Because I truly believe it. There's a lot of work in there as well, but I truly believe this is a great opportunity for CRM systems. But this is the regulation. And as you probably know, it all started in the 90s. Late 90s, that EU saw that we have to, based on Google, Facebook, social media and everything, we need something to control this in a better way. Because you know what Google and Facebook, where they get their money from. What is the basic business idea of Google and Facebook and lots of others? It's the personal data, like this. Everything they can. They store it, and they profile you, and they sell that profile to somebody who will place ads on top of that, and they make massive amounts of money based on the information that they take from us, each one of us. Without saying anything, without you don't having any access to it, of course this is a democratic problem that has to be solved. And EU did that. And on top of that, you had this NSA thing with Snowden and scandals and stuff. Also made it very clear that this has to be open and more democratic than it is today. So it is approved in 2016, and they said there's a requirements in there to build a quality system, to have to have a list of all the personal data you're using in your company, and so forth. And you had 2 years to build that system. And now we're getting closer and closer and closer, and not very many do it, actually. It's quite obvious. But okay, by the effect, you have to get compliant. You have 2 years, and by 25th of May next year, it's getting effective. And then EU can get fines, place fines on those who are not compliant or not can document why they have the personal data on board and can't explain why they have it, and a system to manage the privacy data. SuperOffice has a plan. You probably understood that. And the question is, do you have a plan, or do the customers have a plan for this? The core questions related to GDPR are this. What is GDPR, and what is the motivation behind it? I say a few more words about it, because I think it's important to understand this motivation, because then we get motivated to work with it as well. Without understanding the real deep motivation behind it, it's harder. Then it's just nuisance, it's problems, work. It's not. And what does GDPR mean to your business? Our customers' business? What is the requirements? What are the requirements, and what is the opportunities lies behind this? And that's different from company to company, kind of business you're running. And then, of course, most interesting for us, what does this mean for a CRM system? And the fourth one, most of what I'm going to talk about is what SuperOffice is doing to meet a new situation. And try to make this short. We are doing this in 6 different areas. We are making sure our own company, the information that we store about persons in SuperOffice, the system we make for that is compliant, that we are GDPR compliant. We make sure all our agreements with the customers and partners are GDPR compliant, because this places responsibility at the right place. This is very important. The DPAs, the terms of service, all the agreements in the system. You probably noticed that, especially the DPAs, data protection agreements, data processing agreements, actually. We have to strengthen, just to be completely sure, the security of CRM Online. Visma, which is hosting our online solution, does have certificates, ISO certificates, both for 9000 and 27001. And this autumn, we have been, or this year, we have been working with Visma, ITC, to be a part of their certificate. So now SuperOffice activities in hosting, operation, application management is included in, will be included in the certificate of Visma. So then the total process of handling the data for our customers are ISO 27001 certified. We will, of course, deliver new versions of our product to help our customers be compliant, 8.2 series. And we will establish consultancy services to help our customers implement SuperOffice 8.2 and to ease their work of getting GDPR compliant. We cannot make our customers GDPR compliant, but we can help them with implementing the necessary functions in the CRM system. And last but not least, work with partners to ensure total GDPR compliance in the integrated solutions. So everyone that has delivered software, that have access to our software or to the customer data, is part of this. I'll come back to it and talk a bit more about that. Okay, so based on that, we have actually 11 initiatives in SuperOffice to reach these 6 goals. I will not go through them now, but it's a lot. And you can have these slides, and if you wonder how we have done it, please ask us, and I can explain it, how we... But we have been running this project for more than 6 months already to get compliant in all aspects. Still not done, of course. We also have some good helpers out here. because this is hard to do alone. So we're working with PricewaterhouseCoopers as GDPR compliance law part of it. We are working with Føyen Torkelsen, which is a law company, with all the agreements, the legal stuff. Information security, as I said, is Watchcom, and application security is also Watchcom. So we think that we can't really do this without external advisors. Try to limit the cost as much as possible, but these guys are experts in their field, which is hard for us to do. We're a software company. We can't really be experts on all these different areas. That's too hard. And that's why, if you look at the GDPR compliant project, you have to look at 3 components. First, you look at the customer, which is the company which is about to build the quality system, to identify all their information assets, as I said. Where do we have, what kind of personal information are we storing in our systems? Not only SuperOffice, but in all systems. Why do we store them? What is the purpose of storing them? And if you can't answer from a business perspective, you just have to delete it. That is you have to go through this analysis, and I will show you briefly, very fast afterwards, how we have done that in SuperOffice. And you have to do the same thing in your company. And if you haven't done it, God forbid, don't help your customers. Because you have to do it yourself before you help anybody else. If not, you end up like me, just talking to PowerPoints. That's always, sometimes it's okay, but not always. Building such a system for a customer cannot be done without the help of lawyers. It's impossible. Have to know. We get into so many discussions when I mean something, Gisle has a different opinion, Catherine means something, and we're not lawyers. We're not able to interpret this law in the correct way because we're not lawyers. We don't have the authority to say it's like this. It's like a doctor. He has the authority to say this is how it should be done. So you just, in my opinion, you just have to contact a lawyer. Don't spend massive amounts of hours in consultancy, but having a contact with a lawyer company to help you understand this is vital to the project. To keep it small enough, to save time for internal discussions, where everybody, when you have this kingdom story, you have 8 or 10 people with one eye. Imagine that discussion, trying to find out what is the right thing. It's not working. It's a hell. Very tough and long discussions. Get help, is my advice. So any company needs legal advice. We also need legal advice to prepare our product. What does this mean? Because we are going to transfer that into a feature in our product, and then you have to understand what it means. And it's still hard, but nobody's done this before. It's a new law. So I think we're in the forefront of this, and I hope that Erik will show some of the stuff we already made, so you can see actually what we already implemented. But we are using lawyers to understand this. And then SuperOffice has come a long way already in implementing CRM compliance in SuperOffice, and by doing that, we are able to turn to our customers and help them. Without that, we're not. Just not know what it's all about. And we're doing it on the basis of SuperOffice, of course, but also the HR system, the ERP system, and all our systems included in that project. So as you stand, we take this very seriously. On the top, you should remember when you turn to the customer that it is a project that the customer is responsible for. You cannot take responsibility for a GDPR compliance project for another company. They have to do it yourself. You can be an implementation advisor for CRM. Nothing more, nothing less. But this one is quite important because to understand these 3 elements, these 3 components, because sometimes when you approach a customer, quite often actually, they ask us, can you make our company GDPR compliant? I said, no. I can assist you in implementing a GDPR compliant CRM system. Okay. Is this a hype or is it not? I don't think it's a hype. And at least we prepare for it not being a hype. Because I believe it's a model change in how people, the perception of how people deal with privacy data. And with a model change, I think of something similar that happened when we stopped smoking inside 10 years back or something like that. Before that, it was okay. You had visitors at home, they were smoking, there were kids, they were smoking in the car, everything was okay. But then this law came, and in a few months, it was considered to be not very polite. And if somebody today goes into your living room with your grandchildren or children and smoke, you probably wouldn't have them back again. So it's a model change, total model change, how your perception of smokers are, like it or not. I think the same thing is happening with privacy. If you can't show compliance, if you can't show your customers that you take this seriously, that you have the systems in place, they won't buy from you anymore. They just go elsewhere. It's a tick in the box. So like it or not, that's how it's going to be, especially the bigger companies that take this seriously. They just won't buy from you if you can't show it. It's as easy as that. So this is a model change. That's what we're preparing for. We don't take any risks. We don't want to lose one single customer because we're not GDPR compliant or doesn't handle this in the right way. We don't want to lose one new customer because we can't answer. We want to be the best in class in handling GDPR in the CRM system. Yeah, new customers won't buy from you, and existing customers leave you. So that's where it all starts. That's what's hanging on our walls. That's why we do this. And there are some important opportunities in this picture as well. The motivation behind GDPR was told quite good. This is Bjørn Erik Thon. This is the commissioner of the Norwegian Data Authority. And he started by telling how many transactions there is in the internet world every minute. And you can read it yourself. It's an enormous amount of transactions of content, which is traces, digital footsteps that somebody saves and trying to profile and use to make money. And I said here that this was not the original intention of the internet, that you should collect so huge amount of data, personal data, in so few hands, because that's what's really happening if you look at the big players in the market. This was unforeseen. And if you look at these 5 dominant tech companies, if you look at you start here, you look at the top market cap in the United States 10 years ago, Exxon, this is oil, General Electric, Microsoft was there, and Microsoft is still there, good. Petroleum, bank, and today, all tech. And all based on personal information. It's massive, it's frightening. And we don't really understand this. Thanks to EU for understanding, building this law that may change this attitude. And making it possible for all kinds of companies to collect personal data, to make automation, to profile. So this is the background, in my opinion. And it's about you and me, all of us, to protect our data. And it's also about giving the companies an opportunity to do business based on these data. Because our information, the tracks, has value. So what GDPR has the intention of is create a market for personal data. I own them. If I give it to you, I know they have some kind of value. I read the other day that Facebook rates every person, the personal information rated to a person was 12 NOK for some strange reason, I don't know. But they're starting to place a price, actually, on your personal information. And some think that you will be able to deal in that way. You can have my data, but I want something back from you, and I want money. Not just services or an intelligent search result from Google. I actually want money from you if you have my data. So they're trying to create a market for personal data, and it's open. I consent, you will have my data, and I do it openly, and I know you have them, and I know what you're using it for, and I get something back. That's the deal. Money or something else, personalized service. And if I change my mind, I want them back. You cannot have them anymore. So you have to delete them, even on the backup. Totally. This is how it is. I mean, wow. But it's true. This is the law. So you have to find the practical way of dealing with this. And this is how they look at this. Today's market, you feel that you have this lack of choice from the consumer side, lack of trust. We don't know what they're using it for, and I don't know if the data they have collected are right. For some reason, Facebook believes that my wife, the worst thing of getting a grandfather is not that you're a grandfather, but it's being married to a grandmother. Why did I say that? Yeah, well, my wife, Facebook thinks she's pregnant. But of course, it's a daughter is pregnant, so it can't.
So you need to have a conversation with your wife when you get
Yeah. Because Facebook is probably right. Yeah, I'll check that. Yeah. Well, yeah. So there's a lot of these things, and they're using it. If you look at the bottom of this list, price discrimination and tyranny of algorithms. They're using this to price your insurance, to give you a discount, and they're also profiling you in a way that you can't access. You don't know. The Norwegian company placing some kind of internet of thing in your car that tracks how you drive, and they make the algorithm to evaluate your driving, and they say you're a good driver and you're a bad driver, and the algorithm they're using is not shown, and then you get the discount. I'm not sure I like that. That's how it is. This has to be controlled in a way. So this is the background, the basic background of introducing GDPR from EU. I think it's a good law. I like it. I can relate to this. Hope you see the same. So this is one part of it. I do not have the time to go into the direct requirements of this law, but it's very simple to access. What the law says, this is a 1-minute introduction to what GDPR requires. You've probably done it, but it's search, read the law, and do some search. There's guides and a lot of stuff out there. It's easy to understand what the requirements are. But you have to, it's like going to school. You're not learning in the first week. You have to take some courses and do it over and over again, and then suddenly that's these coins dripping down all the time. Ah, that's how it is. That's how it is. Just start working with it, because the customers are going to ask you about it. And if you don't answer the right way, it's bad for business. So you can read this for yourself. There's a lot of requirements, fines, the definition, I said that definition of personal data is wide. It's any piece of data that directly or indirectly can contribute to identify you as a person. Tracks, whatever. What we do in SuperOffice is to build a privacy lifecycle into SuperOffice. All aspects of it. It starts normally with a kind of consent, a legal base to store information about a person, and goes through this circle of life, and it ends with being forgotten or deleted. And if you're, as long as you're a customer, you have a customer, you can store data about it. But as soon as the customer leaves you, you can keep the data for, let's say, 2-3 years, and then you have to delete it. You're not allowed to keep them anymore. A lot of stuff in there. You'll see more of this in due time, I think. We have implemented, trying to implement a culture of privacy by design in our software. You have to know where it is. They have to be identified. You have to think of privacy as we think of security or performance in our software. It's the same level. When you start on something new, you always have to ask yourself, is the privacy data involved here? Are they secure? Do we have the right APIs? Are we controlling it? That kind of questions. So privacy by design goes into all products, not only software, but all products. So all development teams have to relate to this term. So where did all the opportunities go? This was just hassle. First, look at the R. I was mentioning it before lunch. But the R represents a relation which normally is something you create between humans. They only exist between people. And you know that automation, intelligent automation, is based on analyzing footprints from a prospect moving on your websites, leaving traces. You use that data to create automatic, intelligent, personalized information. But you have to have legal basis for storing that data. And even more interesting if you look at the existing customers, which is in the subscription economy, very, very valuable because they pay more than they used to. So keeping existing customers, especially for us, is now 10 times more important than before, and it was important before as well. So analyzing what our existing customer does using our products, moving in the community, what they read, what they don't read, what they use in the product, what they don't use in the product, what they do on our website, the number of tickets, the number of meetings, the number of quotes, what kind of anything. Try to analyze that and track that. That is big data analytics, and try to make something out of that to do it automatic. But then again, you need legal basis for storing that data, open. And if this person say, I do not want you to trace these things, then you have to delete it. Stop tracing it. So having control of personal data is fundamental for doing automation when people is involved. Not machines, but people. So that's why it's so important in CRM systems, I think. And GDPR puts this in place. This is the requirement. This is what GDPR will introduce for businesses. So it's two sides of the coin. It's protecting ourselves, our personal life. On the other hand, they are strengthening the economies, makes it possible to do business on this personal data. So they say like this, the world's most valuable resource is no longer oil, but it's data. And data about people. Another advantage is, of course, that data quality will improve in CRM systems as a result of this. I mentioned this before lunch as well, so I won't go through this. But it's a very strict system that makes it increase the quality of all the information you have of a person in SuperOffice. And you know the cost, reduced cost, and the quality of mailings reduces cost and increases revenue because the quality of what you send out is much better and targeted. So that's a good effect. And then we have another one. That was what Gisle was referring to. It used to be, these are slides from 1999. And what it says was that we were kind of envious for the ERP systems because it has to be built in some way, and it was mandatory to use it. So every company had an ERP system. It was mandatory to use. And the reason that it was mandatory was a set of laws. Looking at the CRM system, it looks like this. It was the same model for building the software, but it was voluntarily, because there were nothing at the bottom, no laws. And you probably know what's coming now. GDPR. Yo! Now we have the law. So now it's mandatory. And think of this. Now it's mandatory. If you want to be GDPR compliant, you just have to have a CRM system or a customer database in place and do the documentation. You cannot do a business without. So CRM Nirvana has never been so close. You probably read it, so you see it has a good effect on everything. More customers, more licenses, everything. This is good for business, for CRM business. So everybody needs SuperOffice, and it's the biggest sales migration and upgrade opportunity we ever had. Simple as that. And you need SuperOffice 8.2 or greater to be compliant. So don't you agree? This is a nice opportunity? Yeah. Okay, this is going to be fast because now I only have a couple of minutes. I started it late, but I need a few minutes more. I had planned to show you what we have done in SuperOffice. We have walked the talk. It's going to be fast. Oops, sorry, not that fast. I think I covered this, but no, it's necessary for us to do this internally. Nobody done it before, we don't know the law, we can't help others. We need to do this ourselves. And the expected outcome of this quite huge project in SuperOffice is, of course, a clean GDPR compliant CRM database in SuperOffice. System for privacy, consent, and subscription management in SuperOffice, because we haven't taken the law quite serious. It's been there for a while. Now we're introducing strict subscription management in SuperOffice. A version of SuperOffice products, of course, consultancy services, a revised improvement of our internal QA system, tools for GDPR migration project for customers, and in general, organizational learning about what GDPR means for us, for companies, and for CRM systems. So running such a project internally is vital. It's very efficient, but it's kind of heavy. So we build an organization with all the right people in it, hopefully, with top management included. We made a step-by-step approach to how we're going to work. Maybe this is going to turn into something they call PIM. I don't know, Privacy Implementation Method. I don't know, Øyvind. And then we started working. So these are templates that you can inherit or take from us. We go through the classification, all the information we have, and then work us through each and every one of them to do the documentation. This is paperwork. This is not implementing in SuperOffice. We're doing a quality management system now. And then we look at where are we collecting personal information, in which process, in which screen, how are we collecting it, and why do we do it? What's the purpose? Is it a good purpose? Okay, then we continue doing it. It's not a good purpose, then we don't. And pieces of information, if you store a birth date in SuperOffice, what's the purpose of storing a birth date? Congratulations. And then you think of the data authority. Will they think that that's inside the law or outside the law? I'm not sure. Okay, then don't take it. Be careful. That's the minimum principle you have to follow. More spreadsheets, more work, more meetings to understand what we're doing. New processes for support is this. Building a quality system, policy, requirements, procedures, and everything, and put it into SharePoint, not SuperOffice. So we're building a quality system in SharePoint. Make it accessible for the project group and for all employees of SuperOffice. The policies, the procedures, the strategies, everything is in there. Responsibilities, everything. Incidents, documentation, all is in this system. I can tell you another time why it's not SuperOffice, but I don't have the time now. So, last few slides about GDPR and partners. You know, this is a structure about who's doing what. And on the top we have a customer, and they are using a set of applications. And the customer is, in this case, hosting all the applications on his own servers. So in this case, the customer is what GDPR calls the controller. He's responsible for collecting the data. And since he's also processing the data on own servers, he's the role of a processor. If he turns to CRM Online, there's no more CRM system here. So SuperOffice takes the role as processor through this DPA. So we are handling the application and storing the data. But we're not stupid, because this includes a lot of responsibility, so we just transferred that to Visma ITC. So they are taking responsibility for the hosting and operational things and the security. Okay, so far so good. What's this? You probably know what's coming. You are accessing this. This is like a big hole back. This is the back door that stands completely open. And from a customer viewpoint, they will ask, I already started asking, I suppose, what about your partners? Are they accessing personal data? Are they taking them out of my database? Are they storing it? Which data? And we say, I don't know. Okay, like this. Well. So you have to cater for that. It's so important that you do it, because it's like it's said here. Yeah, and you might have hosting partners as well. So you have to do the implementation of a control system. You have to have the compliant agreements. You have to implement secure storage or leave it to a partner. Privacy features in your apps, and be aligned with us so that we can have a common front towards the customer, so that this total system is GDPR compliant. We're in full control. We're not that now. No way. So, like the chief security officer in Visma said the other day, having all kinds of technical security measures and controls does not help if you have a back door more or less open. And currently we do have that in this perspective. We are very ambitious regarding GDPR compliance. We want to excel. I think I explained this to you. And I hope you can be part of that process as well. Actually, you have to. You don't have a choice. But there's some opportunities in this for partners as well. You know all the drivers. Already covered that, I think. Higher demand for SuperOffice, number of customers, more licenses is good for business, good for both of us. New apps from partners. We're not going to cover everything related to GDPR. Businesses are different. They have different needs. I foresee that there will be a significant need for apps, scripts, customization, whatever, to help our customers get GDPR compliant. And maybe not only in the CRM systems arena. And of course, the services you're able to provide to do the implementation to be advisors in the implementation of GDPR compliance with our customers. That was all I had to say. Thank you. Now it's time